One of the most controversial endings on a pay-per-view. We're here on AfterBuzz TV to talk all about it. Stay tuned.
I'm Maria Menounos, and you're tuned in to AfterBuzz TV, the ESPN of TV time. Now, Buzz.
Welcome everybody here on AfterBuzz TV on the Hell in a Cell After Show 2019. We're here in the studio here on AfterBuzz TV Studios. As always, I'm not alone, but we see a familiar face, new familiar face. If you watch Women's Wrestling Weekly, the NXT Laughter Show recently, we have Emily. Please, Emily, introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Emily May. I'm happy to be here. It's been an interesting evening watching Hell in a Cell. So
Very interesting.
Happy to be here and excited to discuss it.
And of course, we brought back Jack. I think it's time to, we can retire the hashtag. I think we're just going to bring you back permanently.
I never retire any of my hashtags.
But I know you just recently started the AEW Dynamite After Show.
I did.
So you're kind of crossing over that company line, but you know what? It's okay.
I am. I'm trying to be. I can't get enough of being here, so I try to be as many places as possible.
But even so, like, it's just maybe I know Raw's tomorrow, but this was kind of like the seventh day of like a very exciting premiere week. We had Monday Raw, Wednesday was a fun day, Friday was a fun day, Sunday today. Very controversial. I think we're going to get right into it in a couple minutes, but I do want to talk about some of the build-up that we saw for this pay-per-view up until today. Pretty much or today, there was only 4 matches announced overall for the pay-per-view. We don't really see that from the WWE. Usually they have, the Monday, Friday kind of, or Tuesday before. I know maybe all their energy was maybe going to the NXT or SmackDown on Fox. So maybe they were like, oh, we're going to put some stuff aside. But do you like this kind of approach? Is it something that you want to see more in the future as far as like just watching the show, Emily? Do you want maybe just all the matches to be announced in advance? Or do you like these surprise last minute matches?
I think you have to each pay-per-view or each show is going to be a little bit different. I think they had so much leading into this week. It was really intense. There was a full team behind it, trying to really get as much content out there as possible. And so I think announcing the big matches, I think, is fine, and then maybe leaving some surprises. I think it's perfectly fine.
Do you like the surprise matches that we saw today? Like, Ollie Orton was a surprise match. I know they announced some matches earlier today, but like Ollie Orton, I didn't know was happening until it actually happened.
Yeah, there's a lot of matches that we didn't know were going to happen until they happened. I'm going to be honest, though, it's interesting. A lot of people complain when we are told we're going to have 12 matches on one card, and then this time it comes around and they say, okay, we're only going to talk about 4 of them, and then everyone's mad we don't have every match planned out. Personally, I like this a little bit. I like the idea of knowing that there were matches that, frankly, it was okay for me to maybe go grab something to eat during or have a little break in between instead of feeling like everything was super important, and it made me feel less drained at the end of the pay-per-view.
Do you think this is something where maybe it's just a one-time exception that maybe like Emily was saying just because it was a long, tough week, or was it something that you think they're going to move toward the future where we're going to bank on the WWE name itself and not rely so much on building some of the matches?
I think we're going to see less of this. I don't think it's going to be, this is a common thing.
It's a one-time thing.
Yeah, and just because with so much programming and so many shows, it's hard not to build to that many matches. So personally, I think we're not going to see this happen too often. But the fact that it happened doesn't bother me.
Interesting. Yeah. Well, we're going to talk about the controversial ending. I want to get your guys' thoughts because I know for a fact the Seth Rollins, The Fiend match, I guess we're going to talk about the main event of the evening. I'm going to flat out say it. I hated the finish. And I'll explain why. I mean, I'm sure you guys will probably have the same reasons why I hated it, but I want to hear your guys' thoughts. What did you guys thought when you heard the bell ring signifying a DQ finish for a Hell in a Cell match?
Take it away, Emily.
Oh, good. Oh, me first? Okay, so I'm going to start from the beginning of this match because Bray Wyatt has been building his brand, this new character, and it's been super awesome. This like Firefly Funhouse. It's like and this entrance was like a cross between like the Undertaker and Mankind. So it was like lots of red. Like the fans are involved, are in it. They're like they can't keep their eyes off him, and they build this like creepy ethereal moment, right? That he's like untouchable. And then the fact that it ends that way. That there's that moment where, Rollins is piling stuff on top of him, and he's just like, seems really weak in that moment. And I was a little disappointed or a lot disappointed, because like on commentary they called it spiritual warfare, that they were having this moment that was beyond like the mortal realm, you know? And I felt like that Bray Wyatt should have been given a better chance to show his athleticism and his talent, and to show that this character is beyond anything we've seen before, and he wasn't given that chance, and it was a disappointment.
Now, Jack, I know you're a little critical about his SummerSlam appearance, you know, tuned in 2 months ago, but did it change leading up to the finish? Because I thought the match was okay for what it was until the very last part of the match. But what were your thoughts? Was this maybe a little bit more redemption for you? Did you have the same thoughts going into this match than you did when the bell rang for today than SummerSlam?
Yeah, so to start with the positives, right? To lean in with the things that I really enjoyed. Yeah, something about him coming out this time I really enjoyed. During SummerSlam, I was critical, but this time, for some reason, his music hit for me, the lighting hit for me. I loved that they kept the ring red while he was wrestling.
So red. I loved it.
I thought that was so cool in creating that vibe. That said, after it started, I thought it went about as poorly as it could have. I'm a big Seth Rollins guy, but it seems like his entire moveset has become a kick and a stomp. Even today, I had mentioned on Twitter, the stomp has secretly become the least effective finisher in all of wrestling. He has to hit everyone with it 7 times, and the way that the Fiend doesn't seem scary to me anymore. To me, the Fiend is just 2019 Gangrel. He's trying to be scary, but he's not. Oh, he does the let me in thing. Oh, I'm supposed to be worried. I'm just going to bury you in tools and you'll be done for, right? Like, Bob the Builder showed up. I guess the Fiend's not scary anymore. Tim the Tool Man Taylor's here. Don't have to worry about the Fiend.
That's a good shot. No.
Kevin McAllister's here. The Fiend's in trouble now. Like, what are we supposed to do? He's not scary to me anymore.
Well, there was a moment in the match that like completely turned where it was that moment where Rollins is pulling stuff from underneath the ring, and he just keeps pulling stuff in, and there was like there was a lull in the match where the fans were getting upset in the audience, and they started to boo, and so you're like, what? They want so badly for Bray Wyatt to win, and they didn't get it.
And it's not like this happened after a 30-minute classic amazing match where it was close and went back and forth. It wasn't a very exciting match to begin with. It was basically just, Bray got some offense in, but for the most part, most of it was just Seth Rollins beating down the Fiend until eventually they stopped the match. Which, again, I don't know how I can think of this character as intimidating when his biggest move is he lets you beat him up until he can't move anymore.
I think what they're going for with this gimmick is, and this is why I personally love the gimmick, it reminds me of some of my favorite scary movies where the best part of the movie is a villain. Like, where you come in, they've got the weird background music, they got the weird look, like, he just so, like, you know, you just can't look away. And I think this is exactly what they were doing, where you think you kill him, you think, because all those moves that Seth Rollins did would defeat a normal guy. Like after even Brock Lesnar would lose after 3 curb stomps, you know? Even Braun Strowman lost after 3 curb stomps, but he just kept getting up. And I loved it. I love the fact that he kept getting up, because again, Michael Myers, Freddy Krueger, Jason, like, you think that
it's that like worst villain in your nightmares. And the way when everything was red and the match is in full red, and so you kind of have trouble seeing it, and there's this creepy factor, and it's like this Freddy Krueger kind of guy that is in your nightmares, and so literally Seth Rollins and the Fiend are stuck in this nightmare, and so and now maybe fans feel like they're stuck in a nightmare.
Because even you watch some of your favorite scary movies, and I know you're a producer, Emily. Some of those camera angles, they're kind of meant to not be seen very clearly because of the aspect of the dark and mysterious and the terror and the horror. This, to me, is no different. Again, up until the very last second of the match was the finish, I thought it was fantastic. I thought it was great. it just, now we can talk about it now. How the hell do you have a disqualification in a Hell in a Cell match? Like, if you can't do something in a Hell in a Cell match, then what match should you be able to do with, I don't know.
I know. I don't know.
That's what I'm saying.
This is the demonic structure. Like, how much worse can you get?
That's why I'm saying the Fiend doesn't seem scary. He got beat up so bad that even in a Hell in a Cell where guys have been thrown off of it multiple times, where people have been hit with sledgehammers before, he got beat up so bad they had to stop the match. You never saw Michael Myers get just beat down so bad, people are like, hey, stop attacking him.
I mean, he's been like burned and hit by cars and run over, and he still gets up.
Yeah, could you imagine, like, Jason's not scary when the other camp kids are like, hey guys, quit beating up Jason.
Yeah.
Like, it's
and he got right up like 10 seconds later.
Yeah.
Which I guess is supposed to make us feel that he's still dangerous, but it's like, no, it's too late. You laid there for 10 minutes.
Well, and there was this moment where I was thinking while I was watching this match, is that maybe they're going to turn it because, Rollins has been beating him in dark matches. So I thought, okay, maybe this is the big turn that they were going to do, where, like, the Fiend can finally win. And then the fact that it didn't.
See, I mean, and going back to my villain analogy, where you're watching a movie theater. You're watching a movie in the movie theater. Maybe some people in the crowd are cheering, whatever. The difference between this is you have instant, immediate feedback.
Totally.
Yes.
And that's what makes pro wrestling in some ways so much great. Where you have the audience wanting Bray Wyatt to win, and then I think in turn, like Rollins, if Rollins becomes a heel, it still doesn't take away the dirtiness of a DQ finish in a Hell in a Cell, but it makes sense because people want Bray Wyatt. Like, people, they want him.
They were cheering, and they kept cheering, like, restart the match.
Yeah.
So, and there was that moment where Rollins had like the sledgehammer in his hand, and they have that close up of him, and he's like, the ref's trying to like hold him back, and he's like contemplating, do I do this or not? And that's kind of when it turned, where it just kind of went.
Yeah, I think we're going to going forward, we're going to see how the Fiend is now making Rollins a darker character. But this wasn't, I think this was a misfire.
Like, if this was anything but a Hell in a Cell match, or like whatever, like a no holds barred, no DQ, like, we're like, okay, whatever, but like, this is supposed to be the match of all matches where you can do anything you want, where everything, as long as it's done inside this structure, like, he's following the rules. Like, how is it suddenly against the rules?
But even outside of the structure, if you're in the Hell in a Cell, you're supposed to get a definitive winner. That's the beauty of it. And as I was saying backstage, I'll be honest, I have trust issues with Hell in a Cell now. Next time there's a Hell in a Cell match, I'm going to say, I don't know, are we going to get a DQ again? It's before, what made it great is there was always a definitive winner. Yeah. But now I can't look at a Hell in a Cell and say, I know there's going to be a definitive winner.
And I think when rules are set for matches, you should stick with them. And then if you're going to change them, then announce that they're changed.
And I was going to say, look, I think the Fiend should have won tonight, but if you were said we have to end this with some kind of non-finish, you needed to have the Fiend beat up Seth Rollins and then like leave or do something like that.
We've seen it. We saw it last year where Brock Lesnar interfered in the Braun Roman Reigns Hell in a Cell match, and those two were so beat up that they could. Okay, like, I'm okay with that. Prefer it to end in the DQ. I mean, especially in segueing into the next part of this after show, where like what we saw with Sasha and Becky, like, they're busting out the tables, the ladders, the chairs, but oh no, like a sledgehammer. No, you can't use a sledgehammer. Yeah. But like, what makes that so much more dangerous? I think a ladder or a chair is way more dangerous than a sledgehammer.
Or like 12 chairs.
Right. Yeah. I will say it looked really cool when he's hitting him with the toolbox and thing. I thought there were cool moments like that, but I just thought it's gonna take a lot for me to think that the Fiend is dangerous at this point, because if Seth Rollins did that to him, what would Braun Strowman do? What would Brock Lesnar do? What would all these other bigger, stronger, what would like Samoa Joe do? Most of those guys now look like they would crush the Fiend. And so to me, the Fiend's believability, the scary factor of him has kind of been diminished.
I mean, we're going to, I guess, maybe tune in to find out tomorrow on Raw, especially after Friday. We'll see what each person goes to the show or which show they go to. But you have everything, in my opinion, wrong with, what being a DQ and a Hell in a Cell. Sasha and Becky, everything right about a Hell in a Cell, like just two competitors just so going amazing at it. Obviously, like, I think there's something very special when you're in a championship match and it looks like you're fighting for a championship. You know, like sometimes people are in a title fight and it's like, wait, like there's no sense of urgency. Complete opposite in this match. I think everything right about Hell in a Cell and just right about fighting for a title, it was this match.
Yeah. I loved it. This was match of the night for me, that opening match. It was a great way to, as you'd mentioned, it felt like it was a title match. It felt like there was a lot on the line.
Felt like it was a Hell in a Cell match.
Felt like a Hell in a Cell match.
The stakes were so high, and you could see it in both of them.
Yes, and it was fun. Like, they had a lot of really fun spots. Like that moment where they put the chair up on the cage and had Sasha Banks sitting in it and that running jump kick into it. So many cool, super memorable spots in that match. That was by far the match of the night to me. And
there's a moment with like the kendo stick madness where you're like, oh, when is it going to stop?
Kendo stick madness. Yeah, that was fantastic. And the Meteora through the table. So many great spots.
And Sasha had such great offense where like she didn't take a moment to think about like, what am I going to do next? She was always on to the next thing, you know, trying to get Becky.
Yeah, these two absolutely stole the show for me, and I would be happy to see them continue. I think I knew. I'm Nostradamus here. I knew that Becky was going to win because, as I've been saying on the shows, she's on the cover of the game. She's going to win throughout at least October 22nd. But I also think I could see this continue, or I could see them go their separate ways. But I thought both of them came out looking better, which is always the goal.
Yeah, and like they're. Like, you could see Sasha's frustration when she lost, and it's heartbreaking because you could see her trying, like, over the last few months, trying to push through and try to win, and they both are elite athletes. Like, they are, you know, at the top of their game, and I'm interested to see where Sasha goes, and I know that something will be good. You know, something good will happen down the road. But, you know, it's Becky's time right now. And they're really pushing her. And she is really, she's phenomenal. So,
I mean, based on everything that we saw in the match, what happened during the match, if you were to give me a special prediction, I would say we are probably going to see Sasha and Becky at some point in a TLC match. Now, if that were to happen, do you think that should happen, or do you think Hell in a Cell should be like the exclamation point to a feud? Like, where do you go from Hell in a Cell? You would think that that's the end of the feud, not just a middle of it.
Is it Survivor Series next?
Survivor Series is next. I don't know if they're going to do the Raw or SmackDown.
I guess Crown Jewel is next, technically. But but, you know, it's interesting with this pay-per-view, especially after this match, it's more clear than ever that there are tiers to the women's division. There's the top, and then there's a big space between the next group. Where, you know, at the top you have those Beckys and those Sashas. And it's, I think because those two are so good, and of course, like Charlotte as well is up there. But they're up there. But like it's tough because whenever they go to have feuds with someone else, it's hard to feel like that's a worthy feud for them. And so I think the WWE really needs to start getting some of those other women up to that level. Or it's going to be those four kind of just churning through the mid-card until it's time to reignite one of these feuds. Because Becky and Sasha seem like they were at a different level tonight than everyone else.
And I loved how they opened with it, and they just got right into it. And I think it was a perfect match to start
really
the evening.
It set the tone of
it set the tone,
And it's funny because, like, you mentioned it, where you have these ladies that are on such a high level. I think we saw the same with Bayley and Charlotte for the SmackDown Women's Championship.
Definitely.
You know, two women that can just go. And I think they actually did go. They went. You know, and I think they maybe even second or third best match of the night.
Yeah. I think, honestly, all the women's matches were probably the top of the top. If I was to rank them, it'd probably be some order of the women's matches. But, I mean, Sasha and Becky number one, and then the other two women matches in there.
Yeah, I mean, I think with like Bayley and Charlotte, again, it's that feud that, you know, everyone was kind of looking forward to, and you could, again, the same thing with Sasha. You see Bayley's frustration at the end as well, where she's feeling, where she kind of had that small kind of heel turn, where she's having moments where she's really not herself, and she's kind of taking shortcuts and kind of turning heel a little bit. And so you're wondering, like, Charlotte is like the super heel, but you're wondering, like, what is Bayley going to do next? And maybe because Sasha lost as well, maybe there's another moment there that can happen down in the future again.
Something so amazing about Charlotte is how she can it seems like she can just will you to cheer or boo her without saying or doing anything. Like when you need her to be a face, she walks out and you cheer her. But it's like she does nothing different, but when she needs to be the heel, you boo her. And it's crazy just how she can just sort of will that into whatever the crowd needs to do, they'll do for her. I really loved Bayley at the end of this and the way she sold the heartbreak.
Totally. I was so heartbroken. I was like, you could see her like tears in her eyes, just on the floor, curled up.
I don't know where they're going with her on this, because she has been kind of teasing whether she's heel or not. But that, as far as selling heartbreak, I don't know if I've seen someone do that better in a long time.
It was it was a good, solid moment for her. And I think we need, or hopefully we can see more of that. Because it makes her feel human, and we feel connected to her, and that's what's going to put her over,
Yeah, we're going to see that. I think we're going to see that in highlight videos for some time.
I do want to talk about Charlotte for a second, because today, she already had the most title reigns, but 10-time women's champion. Like, do you think automatically, even maybe, I don't know how much time she has left in the ring, like, is she even like top 5 all time? Or would you not rank her that high? Women's wrestlers.
Of women? I think she's number 1.
You think she's number 1 women of all time?
Number 1 best women's wrestler of all time. Wow. What does she do that someone else does better? I think she wrestles amazing. She cuts great promos. She looks like she should be the champion. She's got it all, and she's got all these titles. I think she's number 1. I'd put her up there. I'm putting her number 1.
So hold on.
Number 1.
Hot take.
I've spoken with you outside of obviously doing our show. Don't you think Ric Flair's number 1 too?
I do think Ric Flair's
so you think Ric Flair is number 1 and Charlotte's number 1?
Think Ric Flair.
Wow.
I didn't even. It's
a family business.
It's funny. I didn't even put that together. But you just said it in this moment.
Because I listen to when you talk.
That means a lot to me.
Well,
you're
a
Shawn Michaels guy.
Glad you're listening to each other.
Yeah, that's true. I am a Shawn Michaels guy.
Yeah.
What do you think about her all-time status?
I think when you hit an all-time status, I think it just gives an opportunity for other women to just come up and say, well, I'm going to take that and I'm going to be a 10-time champion as well. So I think it gives people motivation to sit and inspiration and to reach the highest height. And so I think it's great. And, even though I love Bayley and I love Charlotte as well, I think it's just inspiring, and it's going to motivate more women to say, hey, I can be a top champion. So I think it's great.
Interesting. I actually think Trish Stratus is number 1. But I do think Charlotte is up there. Yeah. I love their match from SummerSlam, but we'll have another conversation about that.
Offline, we'll have one offline.
Oh, Josh, our producer.
Yeah.
Feel free to interrupt.
You know what? I have an interesting comment here on the chat right here from Dang MQ. Charlotte is the Tom Brady of WWE's women division. Wins too much and is hated for doing so. What do you guys think about that?
She doesn't win too much, but I agree. She is the Tom Brady because she's the best.
I'm a big Tom Brady fan, so I do not hate Tom Brady.
Because I was going to say, doesn't Tom Brady, there's controversy, right? He's...
One time, with his footballs and inflations. But I don't know, is there any, I want to know, maybe, I know we have our chat room. They're hot, and I know they're probably agreeing a lot with our Hell in a Cell DQ finish.
Anissa Barr, OG, AfterBuzzer says Lita is number 1. We have some people who say that Charlotte is overrated. A few people say Lita.
I have gone on record in saying in some past after shows that I always thought Alexa Bliss was the number 1 female, just because I think she can do everything at the time, not overall. Because obviously, and my comparison always you look at something like The Rock, like The Rock, who was never was never known for his technical prowess, but he can just do everything. I think Alexa Bliss at times in the last 2 years was the absolute best female, but I think with somebody like Charlotte, she's just always consistent. Going back to even NXT.
And Charlotte's transformed so much in the time that she's been at WWE. So,
No, I was just saying, with women wrestlers too. Right now, the whole evolution idea, it's a real thing. And when you look at women's wrestling 10, 15 years ago to today, it's two totally different things. And so it is really hard to compare the women who were great 10 years ago, 15 years ago to the women of today, because there's just such a difference in how they operate and what the levels that they were operating at, and so it's an interesting conversation, an interesting debate for sure.
Well, speaking of women, we did get an announcement from WWE saying the Mae Young Classic's going to come back. Love the Mae Young Classic. I'm excited for that. Want to see what women they're going to be. Hopefully some local women. I know Women's Wrestling Weekly, maybe some ladies from them are going to be in the Mae Young Classic. But completely flipping the subject, we saw Roman Reigns and Daniel Bryan against, I'm going to still call them the Bludgeon Brothers because they are. You know, let's be real. I really liked the storyline from its inception, and it's hard to say because I'm still a fan of what they're doing, but I feel like they've kind of gone down as far as like the quality of the storyline. Because remember, every week on SmackDown, we saw this storyline end the show, and it was always something new twist, right? Yeah. I just feel like with Daniel Bryan now, I guess being a babyface, a good guy now, it's like, really? Like that? I mean, was that the end game of all this?
Yeah. And they pushed it over at the end where it was like handshake versus a hug.
I thought this match was amazing. I thought this match was great. It was fun. But, you know, what did you guys think of the match? And what do you guys think of this bromance between Roman and Bryan?
Romance.
Bromance. Can't spell romance without romance. Vice versa.
You know, I think it was a match for, like, it's a brawler match, you know? You have the big dog and Daniel Bryan, and they're going at it with Harper and Rowan, and like it kind of like, because the first match was, you're on such a high, you kind of like come down, and since you're so familiar with these guys, you're like, okay, what's going to be, again, they're weekly, you see them. So I think it was a little, everyone's in the ring, and kind of, it got a little convoluted at times. But I think overall it just was kind of like a big brawl, and hopefully it's building to something different and bigger.
Yeah, I agree. I love the story build up to this, and I love the match. The match was really fun too. I do think that unless it does something more, it didn't really further us, though, is the problem. Like,
do you feel like we're in the same spot, kind of? Or?
Well, I almost feel like a step back, because I think Rowan built it when he was teaming with Daniel Bryan, was becoming a legitimate new character that we could really appreciate. And I love Harper, but now it just feels like he's back in Bludgeon Brother world. Same with Daniel Bryan, became this really cool, like, world title level heel that was different and interesting. But now he seems like he's just back at regular old Daniel Bryan. And I'm a Daniel Bryan fan, but and now Roman Reigns, they won today, so it's like, okay, well, is he different after this whole thing, or is he just the same Roman Reigns we had before these attacks? So I agree. I love the whole journey to get here. I love the match, but now I am sort of going. I don't know if the characters progressed. If that makes sense.
Do you think they're kind of at a lull where they're trying to figure it out? Because I feel like I think you're right there, where we didn't really see a progression from where we've been before. Do you have a prediction?
I'm going to make a prediction.
Prediction time!
Knowing how WWE works, Daniel Bryan and Roman Reigns are going to beat Dolph Ziggler and Robert Roode for the Raw Tag Team Championships. Because it just gives them something to do. I feel like maybe there's this, like you said, this lull period of like, wow, like we want to push Roman to the moon because obviously he's Roman Reigns. But like, you know, obviously they're still like, they don't, he's still kind of, I don't know, obviously he's healthy now, but they don't want to just push him to the moon like they did again and kind of make the same mistake. So how do they make it so we still have him out there and we still have him in action and we still have him relevant? Oh, cool. Same with Daniel Bryan, because he was kind of in the same position as like, is he ever going to wrestle again? Whatever.
But he took a lot of big bumps tonight too. He did. In the first half of the match, he was taking a lot of it. So. But
I'm saying like as opposed to how it was previous to their injury or previous to their, you know, health issues, they were wrestling like, it feels like 7 times a week. You know, now it's like, how do we make it so not only are they not wrestling as much, but now they can kind of, you know, being in a tag team, they're not in the ring 100% of the time.
Well, and then,
put them in a tag team, make them champions.
And they can kind of share the responsibility a little bit.
Actually, I think they're going to be revival.
I think, honestly, that this whole thing happened because all this is going to get blown up in the draft. And I don't think they're going to continue it. That's my pessimistic
We're going to find it, because that's
We'll find out.
That's
We'll
Friday.
find
But
out.
now that you mention it, I switched it from Ziggler and Roode to Revival, because I think Bryan and Roman are going to get staying on SmackDown, and they're going to be the ones to beat the Revival. Have two, because obviously we saw what happened on SmackDown. Now, how do they get another two well-known faces that a lot of people know? Oh, let's put the tag belts on Roman and Bryan, because that's what they do now, apparently. They want to give it to the guy who, with the most notoriety.
Right. Well, I mean, it gives him something to do. I have liked Roman Reigns a lot more since his return, because he hasn't been shoved down our throats so much. So I think it's actually been really good for him, the way they've been using him.
They've been using him strategically and with soft touches.
I predicted my future tag team championships. We saw a women's tag team championship, which was announced earlier today. I believe it was. It was the what I call them Bliss Cross. Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross going up against the Kabuki Warriors. Not much story there, because we kind of seen obviously they're not giving much attention. Everything was building for Fox, but I mean, the match happened, and Kabuki Warriors ended up winning. And this match confused me a little bit, because I'm like, wait, are Kabuki's heel? Because they're kind of being a very heelish. Alexa Bliss has kind of been doing a lot of babyface stuff around here. But what did you guys think of the match and just kind of the structure of it?
Yeah, I totally had the same feeling that I wasn't sure who was heel and who was face, and it was kind of confusing because. The Kabuki Warriors are so over, and they...
You think they're actually over in terms of...
No, over in the sense of, the fans love them.
You think so?
Yeah, I think so.
I think they love them individually. But I actually... One, it was interesting Paige wasn't out there, considering she was supposedly their manager, but... It was interesting they were heels, but honestly, I think I love them, those two individually, so much. It was more endearing. I loved when Kairi Sane did the march across the ring and then just poke her in the eyes. When that happened, I was like, yes! That was such a good move.
It was such a heel move where you're like, oh, but it was on the slide.
That was one of my favorite moments of the night. Just how simple it was. She just stomps over
and think. So simple, but effective.
Yes, and so Kairi Sane, it's funny. She's so lovable, but she was doing such heel stuff, and
it was kind of like big sister stuff, where you're teasing the little sister.
The whole time, and I will always mark out for Green Mist. I love it. I love
Green Mist.
I loved it. If I was a wrestler, even if it had nothing to do with my gimmick, I would Green Mist people.
Poor Nikki Cross was in the backstage interviews afterwards. She was covered in green, just all over. She looked like Elphaba.
So, do you think this was a good choice to have the Kabuki Warriors as champion? Because I thought Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross were great as champions. They were fighting champions. They definitely defended the belt a lot more than the Iconics. Yeah. Do you think it's a good move to switch the belt over to Kabuki Warriors?
I think so, because there was who else would they defend the titles against? There's not. That's just the shortage of tag teams for the women's division. Because if they had defended, then who's next? Yeah. I think going into predictions, I think we're going to see probably Sasha Banks and Bayley tag for potentially.
That's I had that thought too.
Because that's why I think they took the titles off. But for now, I think they needed something to freshen it up, because there's just not enough teams for them to keep the titles too much longer.
Yeah, and I think they're such a good. Asuka and Kairi Sane are such a good pair, and so I think with the titles, I think they're going to bring a whole new level of storytelling, and I think they're going to just up everyone else's game, and so I'm excited to kind of see where it goes.
And I think they kind of teased that it was going to be on both Raw and SmackDown, so that should be interesting to see how these belts work with that hard split now of the draft.
Yeah, that worries me, because I do think it's going to be anytime there's any gray area with the split, it hurts. But they definitely don't have enough women wrestlers to have two different tag team divisions, and it wouldn't make sense to have them on just one brand. So I guess it's one of those things where you have to do it that way. I do think, though, with the Green Mist, going back to that, the Great Muta used to do it, and I was thinking to myself, I'm just going to start calling myself the Great Jack, right? Can you just come up with your own name? I'm just going to be the Great Jack Farmer. I think that's that's my new hashtag Great Jack Farmer, everybody.
I mean, if anything, you got to switch. You got to switch it on Twitter to make it official.
You have to. Everyone tweet it out right now.
I can't change my.
No,
I can't.
You can choose the name, not the.
Okay. Well. Great Jack Farmer. That's me now.
If anything, there was a wrestler back in World Class Championship Wrestling named the Great Kabuki, who I think introduced
Who also
the
did it,
Green
yeah.
Mist.
Yeah.
So kind of
And
full circle.
I love how they
Kabuki Warriors.
ended on a very traditional move, and
So
I
should
think
we
it was a homage to what they're representing.
So should we call her Great Asuka and just keep all the Green Misters?
Maybe.
Great.
That'd be cool. You don't really see many female greats. It's always Great Kabuki, Great Muda. Like, hey, you can be great.
Asuka.
Great Asuka.
The Great Asuka?
Yeah.
The Great Asuka.
Let's do it. You heard it here first.
Let's do it.
Yes.
The Great Asuka.
Making it happen.
Another last-minute match that we saw was King Baron Corbin. By the way, I always called he was going to be that. He was going to be king
You did.
from the beginning.
You called it?
I swear to God,
did?
You did.
It's on video. It's on AfterBuzz TV that he was going to win the tournament. But we saw King Corbin up against the finalists of King of the Ring of Chad Gable. Chad Gable's been impressive the last
So
couple of
impressive.
weeks. If anything, I thought their King of the Ring final match was amazing. Baron Corbin's really been stepping up, in my opinion. But what did you guys think of this match?
I love Gable. He is so versatile, and he can showcase so many types of wrestling moves. And I was so mad at Corbin when he did that promo and called him what I don't even want to repeat it. Shorty Gable. And I just hate. I mean, he's building that heel move, but I think it gave Gable that like motivation to really like show everyone that he can take him down. And there's kind of like a clash of styles here, which I really liked. And it was a great start, and it's like an angry match, which I appreciated, and I think it's not over. And I think it's gonna continue, and the feud is not over. That's how I feel.
Yeah, I ever since Baron Corbin came back from that break, he has been on a different level. I think he's one of the best heels in wrestling right now. The way he's able to just get under people's skin, I thought, going back to SmackDown, obviously, like his little segment, The Rock was obviously great, Becky Lynch was obviously great, but he played such a great heel in that scene, in that little segment, and just being I call him the slip on a banana peel heel. He's so good at getting people to really hate him, and he's been, since winning the King of the Ring tournament, he's been awesome in that role. I thought this was a good fill-in segment. I'm gonna be honest, Gable doesn't really do it for me, but I know he has a lot of fans and a lot of people are really interested in him, so I totally understand him being on TV. And I thought the match was solid as well.
How does Chad Gable not do it for you?
He's vanilla to me. He doesn't stand
You
out
need to
to
put
me.
some sprinkles or something
I was
on
going to
it.
say, vanilla ice cream is delicious.
Vanilla ice cream's amazing.
Okay.
I'm more a French vanilla guy, so.
All right.
No, but I don't know. Look, I know a lot of people really like Chad Gable. I get it. I'm not going to say he shouldn't be on TV or anything. He's just not my cup of tea.
That's okay.
He's just not.
It's okay. We'll change your mind.
If anything, is Baron Corbin a guy? Because here's a guy who gets so much heat, just overall.
So much heat, yeah.
But isn't that the point? You know what I mean? Like if he's no, he's not an indie guy. No, he didn't have Ring of Honor or CZW or PWG matches. But what, you're gonna boo? You're gonna boo the guy just because he's not from there? No, his job is to be a heel.
Yes.
If you don't like him, cool. Guess what? He's doing his job.
Yes.
He does his job well, and a lot of people don't like him.
You know what's funny is people that say like, oh, I don't like Baron Corbin has changed the channel heat, and it's like, oh, did you change the channel? Well, no. Like, okay, then he's not changed the channel heat yet.
He was definitely overexposed for a while, I think, when they were having him do 30-minute promos every single week.
Yeah.
But like I said, since he's come back and they haven't been doing that, he's just been a phenomenal heel. He's been absolutely great. I think, like I said, I think he's one of the best heels. I could see him winning a world title as a heel, and I can imagine wearing the title with that robe and the crown. I think that'd be awesome.
I wish that there was some type of cohesive look to his gear.
That's fair.
I'm just saying, like, the crown looked awesome, and then then he's like a black tee and like pants, and I was like, if you're the king, Corbin, you gotta go all out. And so I really wish that they kind of, but again, that's a heel move. So like even the gear might irritate you.
Right. I love how like no one wants to be involved with him. Even on Twitter, I think Randy Orton said something nice about him, and then later said, "Sorry, I was drunk when I wrote this" or something. And it's just he's great. I think he's doing a great job of making people hate him, which is exactly his job. I always say the best heels are the heels you want to see someone slap and beat up. And I think we all want to see someone just beat up Baron Corbin, and that's perfect.
You mentioned Randy Orton, and he was in another last-minute match thrown together, but this time with Ali. There's a little bit of history, and I'm glad that they mentioned on commentary, where it was Orton that injured Ali back in February that allowed Kofi Kingston to kind of fill in, and then they kind of brushed up on that. But this was another match that, again, no real history besides that, because obviously nothing recent. But I loved it. First of all, let me just say, I think Randy Orton is one of the most misunderstood wrestlers out there, because people don't realize just how good he is.
He's great.
And then you mix in Ali, who, obviously is such a rising star. He can do anything. I think Randy Orton works well with some of these young guys that have something to prove. Like, a lot of people complain that Randy Orton sometimes gets lazy. Maybe that's true, maybe that's not true, but he definitely wasn't lazy tonight.
Yeah, I mean, it was such a showcase match, and it was, you have Randy Orton, who's like this veteran, who's been around, who has established himself, and then you have Ali, who's like, again, this up-and-coming star, and they both are hitting their strides in different parts of their careers right now, and so it's really great to see. And I think this was a really great match to showcase these two kind of different styles come together for a really good match on a pay-per-view.
Yeah, I think Randy Orton is amazing. He's possibly in my top 10. I think he is.
Of all time?
I think he might be. I think he is. The fact that everything he is involved in becomes a legitimate match, a legitimate feud. Beating him means something, but you could instantly put him in a world title picture and it makes sense. I thought this match was great. I wish they had done a little bit more to build up the history. I do like that they mentioned it, but I think a little video beforehand or something would have really helped to build that up a little bit. I thought the match was great. I think Ali is great. I loved him dodging, the way he dodged that RKO was really cool, but then of course he ate one a little bit later, but that's the fun of the RKOs. It can happen anywhere.
And Ali's kicks are are freaking amazing. Yeah. And just he's so strong.
You mentioned Orton maybe being in your top 10, but do you think he's championship material again? Do you think at some point in the next year or two he should hold that WWE title or maybe even Universal title?
I think he could. I'd be happy with it. I'm a huge Orton fan, so I think that'd be absolutely fine. I think he's still hit this match. I think mattered because he was in this match. If there was someone of equal talent in the match, it wouldn't have mattered as much as if it was Randy Orton. I mean, even going back to the announcement of the 5-on-5 match for Crown Jewel, him coming out was what made that feel like a serious segment. If they had just brought out some other heel, like if it was Bobby Lashley that came out, we'd be like, oh, okay, whatever. But when Randy Orton came out, it was like, ooh, this is interesting now. So I think Randy Orton being a world champ would be fine. If he wasn't, I could see why not too, but I'd be for it.
I'd be for it too. I'm a big Randy Orton guy. I'm also a big AJ Styles guy. Yeah. Him and the OC teamed up to face I almost called them the Roar. I can't even say it right. The War Raiders.
The Viking Raiders
and Braun Strowman. Another last-minute match that was thrown together.
Oh, man.
I mean, we saw a lot of them today.
Yeah.
But, I mean, it's your typical middle-of-the-night match.
Yeah, it was just kind of like a pack of wolves, kind of like going at it in the ring, and
it wasn't bad, but
it wasn't bad, but I wasn't like super enthusiastic about it. I think it's going to be interesting with Braun Strowman's win to see next with
Tyson Fury,
and seeing where that goes because duking it out.
Were you the one that tweeted that he's becoming the Big Show?
No.
Okay, I saw something like on Twitter that was like you have Braun Strowman going back and forth with face heel. Now he's going up against a boxer. He's pretty much becoming the Big Show.
I think that's probably fair, but I didn't say that. I think they missed a huge opportunity. I wanted to see Braun come out dressed like a Viking. That
Yeah,
That's
you
what you
said that.
tweeted.
You tweeted
yeah,
that.
that's what I tweeted.
Yeah.
Because I love when you have those guys that have a very specific look,
Look,
and then
and
when
they
do
come
the-
out differently.
Yeah, like when the Road Warriors would do it like sometimes, where like they'd come out
Yeah.
and they'd have a third, like Sting would come out wearing like the pads and the spikes and stuff.
Why didn't you
thought-
come in your Vikings outfit
I
tonight?
thought you were.
below the
Where's
desk,
yours?
below the desk, I'm dressed like a Viking.
I thought you were going to mention like SummerSlam 1989 when Hacksaw Jim Duggan and Demolition teamed together, and then they come out wearing those Demolition masks, right? And they
Yeah.
all take off their mask at the same time. And Hacksaw Jim Duggan has the American flag painted on his face.
I love it. I
Yeah.
love that kind of
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
That's exactly. I thought that would have been a fun way to take a match that was filler and just add a little fun to it, a little
Yeah.
flair.
Yeah. No.
I mean, yeah. I mean, aside from maybe just making sure that Strowman is still relevant, like it seems like this match really had nothing behind it.
AJ sold that punch though at the end
Yes.
really well. I like how he kept going, I'm fine.
Yeah.
And like falling
But
down.
I think it really was it was a match to just set up the Tyson Fury
Yeah.
thing. And,
Yeah.
and really that's it.
Yeah, we saw some 24/7 shenanigans. We had
Yeah.
Tamina become 24/7 champion.
like
We all heard my
second.
thoughts about this championship. Hate it. What are your thoughts about this 24/7 title?
Okay, I love it, and I
Really?
love watching it, and I love trying to see who's going to get it next. And if I'm ever there, I'm going to try to get it. You heard it here.
Yes.
I'm going to get the 24/7 title one day. I will get it.
if we can get the 24/7
Yeah,
title
here.
in the studio,
Oh my gosh,
someone
we're gonna-
from the studio always wins when they go somewhere.
Okay, well,
So you like this championship?
I do. It breaks up like. It's fun. It gets people like that aren't necessarily seen all the time, have a fun little bit. I think we can't always be serious all the time, so it kind of adds some fun, and I like it. And I would totally do a wanted poster.
I mean, I
I'm gonna create a wanted poster.
I agree
Put
with
'em up.
I agree with the funness of
Yeah.
the championship. I just hate what are you champion of? You're a champion of time?
Of time.
You're a champion of
space.
Like what are you a
Champion of fun.
I'll use that.
Okay,
You're a champion
You're
of fun.
a champion of fun.
Okay, that's okay. We had the pre-show match real quick. Lacey Evans versus Natalya. This was fun. I know.
Was it fun?
I don't know. I'm becoming a Lacey Evans fan.
Yeah.
I think. I mean, I was kind of upset that she kind of broke character with that whole Canadian cop thing that happened on Twitter.
Yeah,
where
that
I
was a
like,
little controversial.
No, you don't have to break character. You could have
Yeah.
just said that, whatever. But I'm happy that, and even like with the whole Medusa thing, they were kind of going back and forth on Twitter. But then Medusa came out and said like, "Oh no, she like DM'd me and asked if you want to do this." I'm like, "No, I don't." Keep something about wrestling still mysterious,
Yes.
But.
Yeah.
I love it when wrestlers stay in character
Yeah.
and blur that line.
So-
So I was bummed out they pulled back on
Lacey
those
Evans
also.
is somebody that, but I feel like, especially now on social media, they kind of have to like say like, oh, by the way.
Yeah,
Like,
I mean, you
it
see
sucks,
her. You
but-
see her like do the photo event, like press events and meeting fans, and she always calls them her nasties, and it's very like she's always in character.
Yeah.
So it's part of what she's
Kinda
building her brand.
Kind of what made Broken Matt so great in TNA. Like he never broke character during that era,
Yeah.
which I loved. But that's the whole show. I mean, it was,
That's
again,
it.
a big controversial ending. Obviously, if you want to hear me talk about it, just rewind like 45 minutes because, I hated that ending. Other than that, I thought it's a pretty good show.
Yeah. It was a solid
obviously,
show.
fans were not happy because that's how they ended it.
Right.
But should be interesting to see what happens with this Monday, this Friday, this Wednesday.
Yeah.
Next
There's so much wrestling every week now, and so I think it's an exciting time.
It's an exciting time. You can always comment us on YouTube down below. Hit that like button and subscribe to this channel. But if people want to talk to you on social media, how can people talk to you guys?
Yeah, so if you want to continue the conversation about wrestling, sports, and all the producing stuff, you can follow me at EmilyMaeHeller on all social media platforms and catch Women's Wrestling Weekly on Wednesdays at 4 p.m. at AfterBuzz.
Yeah, and you can find me at jackcfarmer.com for all your DJ, MC, and live event hosting needs. You can also find me at Real Jack Farmer across all social media. I also do the Raw After Show, and I'm doing the brand new AEW Wednesday Night Dynamite show every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Check it out.
And you can follow me at GHermoza, GHermoza. I cover Raw in Espanol Monday nights. I cover After 83 Weeks featuring Eric Bischoff. He should be back in a couple weeks. I'm here doing the pay-per-views. I hope you guys come back for the Survivor Series pay-per-view recap. But in the meantime, feel free to subscribe, and we'll see you guys next time. Thank you, guys.
Take care.
Our founder, Keven Undergaro, and me, Maria Menounos, would like to thank you for tuning in to AfterBuzz TV. Remember, we're not just the first, we're the biggest in the world, and we're the only destination for all your favorite TV shows. Whatever you crave, we've got it. So go to AfterBuzzTV.com and check out our lineup. Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.